never talked to them boys that sat on them benches. I was in the game on 4th inches.
Now it's time to go to work. I was muted. What is going on, Florida State family, Seminole Nation, and the 863 tribe? It is your boy, POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the Gizot Damn Truth. And my weekend has started today. I hope yours has as well. If not, oh well, too bad. You got to go to work tomorrow. I do not. And I want to say happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers out there, and a happy Juneteenth to those that are celebrating that. Hey, hush. Man, want to sing in the background. But what is going on with y'all boys and gals, for those gals that may or may not be joining us tonight? Got a little bit to talk about. Mainly, we got this Elite 11, man. Elite 11 is live and in effect. And a couple, some quarterbacks out there making a name for themselves. And some quarterbacks that aren't. And some quarterbacks that didn't even get invited. But we won't talk about those. So we're going to talk about some Elite 11, man. And yours truly is out there showing his ass off. And we'll probably talk about a little bit of course, we'll do the Q&A, and we'll talk about whatever comes up on tonight. I wanted to do a Noles After Dark instead of like a hangover, just because who knows? I didn't want to give it a time limit tonight. We're just going to be on here, man. We're just going to kick it until I'm tired. Kick it until I'm tired. So I hope everybody's having a good, hope you had a good week. Hope you have a good rest of your week. And we'll kick off the end of the week over here on 863 Seminole TV. So hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. And share the video. Let everybody know, man, we out here. And we about to spin the block a little bit. Talk a little football. And if you're drinking anything, what you drinking? If not, water. Water is always a good choice. Me, I got Don Julio. So that's what we got going on tonight. Let's see who's on in the chat before we get started, because I see Island Boys in the building. Truth be told, FSU Tony, Todd Pope, T2Y, Jason, Made in Dade, Gaming Wizard, Jonathan Briley, Vontae, Panama, Black Shear, Terrell, Damian, and Caveman in the building, man. What's going on with everybody, man? Let's get into it. Where do we start? We won't quite start at the Elite 11. So something happened earlier in the week that I think we should talk about and address. One of FSU's prime edge targets decided he was going to take his talents from South Florida all the way to the West Coast to the Stanford Cardinals. Interesting decision there from that young man, and one that I think it surprised some Florida State fans, some of your Florida State beat writers and such. I think, we're surprised by that development. A lot of people were expecting him to be a part of this class. Now it's only June. I got to repeat, it's only June. Anything can happen between now and December. There's a long recruiting process. And I don't know how good Stanford's going to be on the football field. That may or may not matter when it comes to this young man. I'm not sure. Obviously, if you choose Stanford, first of all, choosing Stanford isn't, there's no way you can call it a bad thing, right? I mean, it's Stanford. But you're obviously choosing Stanford for academic reasons more so than you're choosing Stanford for the football side of it. At least I think so. Could be wrong. That's just how I view it, right? Um, but he chose Stanford. He decided to take his talents again to the West Coast. And I don't know, I posed the question in the community. By the way, we're talking about Dylan Stevenson, by the way. And I posed the question. I said, is it a whiff? Did Florida State whiff on this? First, before we answer that question, I let everybody else I let everybody comment. I let everybody comment, and I didn't really give my take. But I saw some comments, and I think we have to define what is a whiff, right? Before we just be labeling stuff as whiffs. Like, what counts as a whiff? AKA like a miss on the trail. Everybody you target, you're not going to sign. Therefore, every miss isn't a whiff. Every guy you don't sign is not a whiff, right? What makes a whiff is not signing a player that you were favored for, in my opinion. It doesn't matter. I heard some people saying, well, it's not a whiff because he went to Stanford. Again, that's my opinion. A whiff is not defined, right, by the school you go to, in my opinion. Like, people were saying, like, if you would have went to, the Gators or the Hurricanes, that would have made it a whiff. And in my opinion, that's not what makes a whiff. A whiff is, this is a priority target that you dialed in, that you put a lot of time and effort in, and you don't get them. That, in my opinion, basically sums up what a whiff is. I don't care what school he goes to. I don't care if he goes to FIU. You miss out on a guy that you put priority in that probably would have led that position group in this class. Because now you have to sit back and say to yourself, well, if you missed on him, what other edge players are we targeting? And I don't know the answer to that in terms of not necessarily who we're targeting, but who you're targeting that you have a real shot at and that is as good or better than him, right? That becomes the question. So in my humble answer, my humble opinion, yeah, it was a miss. Okay, anytime you talk about a South Florida kid choosing Stanford over Florida State, regardless of the reasons, and I'm sure he has great reasons. I mean, like I said, it's Stanford, man. Academically, that one of the premier institutions in the country. They have like an unlimited count of Nobel Prize winners and the Rhodes Scholars and all this thing. I think Florida State has 3 Rhodes Scholars in the history of the school. So you can see it's probably an academic reason more than a football reason. But I will also say it's very pressed. It's hard pressed for me to call anything a whiff in June, because this whole tune is gonna flip if come September, Stanford's 0 and whatever, and this guy says, yeah, I love the academics, but, and he opens his recruitment back up. So we'll see what ends up happening with him as far as I'm concerned. Again, to me, it's a whiff. I understand if you don't think it's one. I don't understand it, but we are always in a place where we, for whatever reason, don't like to criticize anymore. So I got it. That's the negative. So we got that out the way. Let's talk about the Elite 11, man. Elite 11 kicked off, I believe, yesterday. And after one day, your boy, Croman Hope, one of the top players at the Elite 11. By all accounts, I mean, the lowest I saw him was 4th. The highest I saw him was 2nd, depending on who you looked at. On 3, 247. There was another one, I think, don't know the website to that list I saw, but I actually think that list came from the people that were actually at the event. So he's one of the names that's really standing out. They like his size. They like everything about him. Saw a couple highlight throws. Hey, man, looking good out there. So we gotta. That's a player that when they took him, remember, everybody was intrigued with the measurables, right? But he didn't have a lot of tape to go off of. I think at that point he hadn't started a varsity game, but ever since then he's done nothing but skyrocket up every recruiting ranking, every recruiting website. Everybody's fairly high. I think at this point, Luke is like definitely a top 100 player universally. I think On3 has him as high as like a top 50. I think 247's got him in the top 60. I don't have the rankings pulled up, but that's just off the top of the head. Sorry, my phone's going off. Getting a lot of. Okay, there we go. So a lot to be excited about with Luke. We'll see what happens. I think tonight, day 2's kicking off. I'm pretty sure Twitter will start blowing up with more of what's going on in the Elite 11. I don't know, man. I don't know where he's going to finish at, but we've said this before, and we said it on here. I think Luke's going to – I don't know if he ends up getting that 5th star. I think that's a tall task. But he's in the building, right? He's in the building. And it's good to hear that he's doing a good showing for himself. He's doing a good showing for himself. I got a super chat from Chris, my man Chris. What up, POLK? Orlando want to check in. As always, my man Chris with the $10 don't know. Orlando's always checking in, so you always got to show Orlando love. See a couple Miami fans in here tonight, so this one's for you.
Bitch, be humble. Bitch, sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
And let's see. Anything else? No, nothing else. So, what do you guys think? You guys excited? I mean, I think every Florida State fan is pretty excited about Luke. I think some other guys that I've heard stood out or is Air Nolan, who committed to Ohio State. That's good for the Buckeyes, obviously. The Georgia commit stood out from what I recall. Here, let me see if I can find some of those. I'm not going to search too far, but Air Nolan was a name that people were excited to see, and they thought he had a good showing. The Georgia quarterback, I think he's the number 1 quarterback in the country, also had a good showing. I think, was it the Penn State quarterback might have also been turning some heads. I think that's what it was. I'm trying to find the names real quick. Bear with me. Here we go. So day 1 performers, according to On3. Yeah, Ethan Grunkmeyer actually got the day 1 MVP. The Alabama quarterback, Julian Sayin, cool ass name. Number 2, Luke Cromenhawk. Number 3, Trevor Jackson, right now currently uncommitted, was actually number 4. Air Nolan. Number 5, Ryan Poe, another Georgia quarterback who actually apparently in day 1, according to On3, right? So take it however you want to take it. Actually outperformed Dylan. Hoss Hengy, man, some of these names from TCU. Lagway, DJ Lagway, who I actually think DJ Lagway is fairly talented, but he comes all the way down in that number 9. CJ Carr and Colin Hurley round out the top 11 on the day 1 top performers. Notice Miami doesn't even have a quarterback. Air Judd, I guess, isn't good enough to be in the Elite 11. Air Judd didn't even get an invite. So as far as any Miami fan commenting on quarterbacks, they probably want to sit this one out because Air Judd is your quarterback and Emory Williams was your quarterback last year. So, yeah. Don't talk to us when we're talking about quarterbacks. It's big boy talk. You set the little kid table. So I hear he's off to it sounds like he's off to a tough start here on day 2. Speaking of Luke, he sounds like he's off to a tough start. We'll see how he finishes it. You feel me? We'll see how he finishes it. But couple things coming out of day 2 as of right now is I think Lagway is performing fairly well in day 2. Here, let's read what we have so far coming from 247 updates from the Thursday night pro day. They just got done warming up. This is all right, so this is what they're doing tonight, day 2. Each of the QBs will make 20 scripted throws in an 8-minute span, working from the 50-yard line and stopping at different stations. We're going to score each one of them from our vantage point up in the stands. 0 for a non-completed or off-target pass, 1 for off-target but completed, 2 for on-target and completed, 3 for dime. Very interesting for me how they decipher a 2 from a 3. What is on target but completed in a dime? What? I'm curious to know what differentiates those two categories. Interesting wording on how you go from 0 to 3. But you know, whatever. And so the order for tonight, let's go through the order. First off was Will Hammond, Trevor Jackson, Danny Keelan, Luke was the 4th, Lagway the 5th, Colin Hurley, Danny O'Neill, Ruin Pugsley, man, these names, Dylan, Rayola, Demon Williams, Ethan Groupmeyer, Mike Hawkins, Aaron Nolan, Dante Reno, Julian Sayin, Elijah Brown, CJ Carr, Jaden Davis, Hoss Hennessy. I'm just calling that guy Hoss Hennessy. I like that name. Isaac Wilson. No Air Judd. Don't see Air Judd competing in the Elite 11. So again, if you don't have a quarterback in the Elite 11, you don't get to speak on the Elite 11. Big boys talking over here. And so, yeah, just reading down the timeline of what's going on right now. And apparently you can watch it on Twitter, I think. I don't know. So I'm just scrolling down, seeing who's doing what right now. Trevor Jackson got a final score, was a 43. Trying to see if I can find anything on Luke. Luke is up next. This was as 27 minutes ago. A top 3 guy from Wednesday. Let's go to page 2. Tough round for Luke. Likely going to see our first sub 40 score. So there you have it, right? Luke had a tough first round in the second day. So those are confirmed. Chromahawk has underthrown a few deep balls, missed late on a few others, doesn't quite look in sync on day 2. So, okay, everybody has a tough day. Again, Lagway yesterday finished 9th. Gator fans on Twitter were up in an uproar. They couldn't believe that the great Lagway had a bad day. Everybody has bad days. Luke looks like he had a tough first round. Again, sub 40 score.
There's a book by the iPad.
Oh, my God. We'll move.
I did.
We'll get the iPad and move. Let's see. So Lagway's up now. They say Lagway threw the best deep ball of the day. Andrew Ivins says Chromahawk a bit up and down. Some big time tosses with plenty of velocity, but a few misfires. We had him with a 29, Elite 11 with a 32. So Elite 11, his official score for the first round was a 32. What? You good? Okay, go. Lagway looks like he's going to finish with Lagway finished with the 42. Let's see. Lagway Flash had the best deep shot so far. Missed on a few over the middle. We had him with They had him with the 34, Elite 11 with the 42. So there you go. We'll see how it completes. At the end of the day, I think you have nothing but, if you're a Florida State fan, just be excited that Luke's there and he's having a good showing. It's okay. Off nights happen. He outperformed most yesterday. Looks like he's struggling through the first part, but he may finish strong, right? O'Neal, I'm just updating you guys as we continue. O'Neal is tough to score accurate thrower, so will probably score high. Lacks arm talent. Dude, it's kind of damning. Anytime you evaluate a quarterback, to say he lacks arm talent is a little bit damning. But they say he probably will score well because he's accurate. Accuracy is a big deal, right? Accuracy is a big deal. Jeff, my man Jeff with a $10 dono. He says, what I miss, man. We just talking Elite 11 right now. Jeff, thank you for the dono.
Jeff.
O'Neal, much better tonight than he was Wednesday. Nailed a lot of his short and intermediate stuff. So they actually had him with a 43. Elite 11 scored him a 43. So he scored better than Lagway. But they said he'll probably score well. Very accurate thrower. And that's the last update as of right now. So we'll continue to update as the Elite 11 continues and the updates continue to roll in. Figure I'll do that for you guys. But again, hit the like button, y'all. Here. Haha Davis has a public service announcement.
Go your motherfucking ass to sleep. Whoa, shit, what the fuck good buddy hit me with? I told him I wasn't sleepy. He had to have a brick in that bitch.
As far as other stuff, man, regarding Florida State, look, they're still in the battles. They're still in the recruiting battles. They're still in the heat of recruiting. A lot of players that they seem to be in good positions for, man, but we'll see how they end up finishing in all of these guys. I really haven't dug into recruiting so far this offseason. I just haven't gave it much attention. I think recruiting has gotten to a point. It's not like it was a few years ago with NIL and the way recruiting works now. I don't know if you can put any stock in June, July. I mean, I would argue, and maybe I might be off base here. I almost feel like the recruiting don't even start until August. I mean, you got the number one wide receiver in the nation, and he's verbally committed to Ohio State, and he's shopping himself to every Florida school. We'll see what happens with him, and that's the interesting part. Like, Florida State's in the running, man, for some big wide receiver talent. They got some big time DB talent that they're trying to get in, that they're recruiting right now. It's just going to be very interesting. I can't put a pinpoint, man, on recruiting right now, because I think at least from a Florida State standpoint, I feel like everybody they're targeting as of right now, these recruitments are going to go into the season. Like, the only one, like if you told me to pick somebody that will commit like before August, I would Fox is the only guy that I'm expecting, and he will announce, I believe, in July sometime. That's really the only guy that I, could be off there, but that's really the only guy that I see. I just think these recruiting battles are going to go into the season. The traders, all of these guys, man. These guys are FSU is they're big fish hunting. I always say that. It makes no sense. You don't big fish hunt. They're big game hunting, and they're looking. They've done a great job. They've done this since Mike's been here. What they do in the summer is they do a great job of signing their core. Signing the core of your. This isn't the first time in Mike Norvell's tenure that in June, July, going into August in the season, he has a top 10 class. This isn't the first time he's done it. He's done it damn near every year he's been here. The problem has been after the season starts, right? And how we finish and not landing some of the big fish down the stretch. Even last year, there were some guys that you didn't reel in down the stretch that could have, you couldn't keep POLK down the stretch. You couldn't land your boy. I always forget his name now that he went elsewhere. Your boy, the defensive tackle guy that I really wanted, right? There's some guys that you couldn't get down the stretch there to really cement the class as a top 15, top 10 like class. But as of right now, Florida State's a top 10 class, regardless of what people want to say. They've done a great job of solidifying that core. You got your bell cow and Cam Davis and Luke, right? You've got the number 1 tight end in the country. You've got, those are your 3, right? Those are your 3 major targets. You've got a stacked wide receiver room, even though I don't think that wide receiver room sticks, and not because of bad recruiting, just because of Florida State targeting bigger and better players. I think some of those guys are going to feel like some of those guys I think will be pushed out, and I think some of the guys will also feel like they aren't as wanted as maybe originally thought. But Florida State's done a great job up until this point, and we'll see how they finish in the recruiting aspects of things. Let me see if we got an update on any Elite 11 stuff real quick, and then I'll hit the comments up. Let's refresh. Okay, yep. Will Hammond right now has the high score of 45. Pugsley with a 41. So far, I think Luke has the lowest score right now, guys. I think Dylan Raiola's going right now, and they're saying so far the ball hasn't hit the ground. So Raiola's having a strong showing. So I think right now Luke has the low score. It looks like anyway. Luke right now has the low score on day 2 in the first part of the Elite 11 that continues to go. Let's see. We got Peter, man. What's going on with you? Terrell says, strangely, I'm paying to FSU softball recruiting at transfer portal. Football become too unpredictable. Sam, he says, what's up, folks? It's been a minute. What's good, Sam? What's up with Charles Lester, Colorado, or FSU? I don't think, it's my opinion, you should worry about Lester. I stand on that. Been saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it. If you miss out on Lester, something has to go. There's got to be some change. I think there has to be. I know people don't like it when we talk about this, and because it's June, there's a whole bunch to talk about. Whole season to get played. Anything can happen. This time last year, get Chris Thompson out of here, right? Chris Thompson, Jaheim Bell, Kyle Morlock. Now you got the number 1 tight end in the country. You're probably going to get Fox here. All of a sudden, tight end recruiting has gone off the charts. So the Chris Thompson buzz is dead. No one's asking for his job, right? So anything can happen. As far as Lester, look, those kids are always going to go see what prime time is talking about. These Florida DBs in general all have some type of affirmation, some type of relationship with Dion, and that's they're gonna go check him out, man. They're gonna go see what he's talking about. They're gonna go up to Colorado, and they're gonna vet the process. Lester has been pretty open, which one thing I respect about Lester. He's been open to the fact that, man, I love Florida State, but I'm going to take my time in this process. And he's visited everywhere, and he hasn't lied about it. He hasn't shied away from saying, I'm going to Bama, I'm going to Georgia, I'm going to visit these places. I think you got to let history go. I don't think Lester's going to Colorado. Then again, No one thought Cromartie McLean and all these other guys. But again, football's got to be played. I think Lester's gonna take his time with this recruitment. I don't think you should be worried. But at this point, yeah, he's visiting. No big deal in my opinion. But I can understand how FSU fans might be a little worried anytime they hear Dion going after a DB target of ours. Panama also says we're recruiting at championship level on offense, but defense leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I think, how do I say it without, I try not to come off as a negative Nancy, but you guys know me. I just have to be honest. But I'm trying to get my words together. My problem with the defensive recruiting is the overall board. Outside of DB, in my opinion, the boards are so slim. Like at D line, I know of the major target being the kid out of Mississippi. But if you miss on him, who's the second and third option? That's either as good or just below. Like, who are those guys? I don't know. Same thing I was just talking about at the beginning of the show about, we talk about Stevenson and him going to Stanford. Well, then who are the supplementary pieces that now you're recruiting in the wake of him going to Stanford, which wasn't foreseen by anyone, by much, if anybody? Who are you targeting? I'm sure there's names. Like, you can list a bunch of names, but who's you got traction with? And who's on that same level or better? We already know about linebacker recruiting. We don't even need to hash that out. Okay? So outside of DB, where I think they have a vast board, I think Pat has done a great job. He has a board of guys, multiple targets, big time blue chip players in the secondary. They're targeting. I'm cool with that. The problem with defensive recruiting is, yeah, you've got your number one target at D tackle, but then what else is there? I don't know who the number one. I don't know what they're doing at backer, but hey, whatever. And then the edge, who are the guys? But yeah, offensively, like I said, you got Cam, you got Luke, you got a boatload of receivers, you got the tight end position. O-line recruiting hasn't quite gotten started yet, or at least as far as getting commitments. We know the major targets that Florida State's after on the O-line, but we got to see who they end up getting to commit. But yeah, man, I don't disagree with you, Panama. I don't disagree with you. Marco, what's going on? Our resident Louisville fan in the building. He says Colorado won't win 2 games. I think Colorado's in for a tough season. I don't know how many games they're gonna win, but I'm gonna watch them. That's an interesting question. Since Dion seems determined to target our players every year, should FSU start retaliating back at him in some way? I don't know what retaliating in what way. And again, Lester isn't Florida State's player. Same thing with Travis Hunter. And any other, when we're talking high school recruiting, again, where I have to defend Dion is he's doing his job and trying to sign the best players at the position. And as arguably the best corner of all time, definitely his era, his generation, he's going to have that. And he has everything that comes with it, the swag and the character and the brand that is Dion. He's gonna get those visits, y'all. Kids are not gonna not go up there and see what it's about. Okay, I don't know how you retaliate. How about signing your own good players? That's how you retaliate. And again, I don't know if he's targeting Florida State's players per se. I think he's just targeting the best guys in the country. Some of those guys you get traction with, some of those guys you don't. I still want Odell to retire. Tell him again, Peter. Hit that like button. Let me scroll down. Okay, so we caught up in the comments. So, but yeah, man, I think that's my bedtime. I think recruiting is what it is at this point. I think Florida State's recruiting well. I mean, you don't have a top 10 class at this point, and you don't say you're not recruiting well. As a matter of fact, we got the top class in the Big Three, for whatever that means. Take that for whatever it is. Obviously, you got to close, right? And like I've said before, you've been here before, where at this point in the year, you've had one of the top classes in the country. But now you got to close. We're expecting to have a good year on the field, so you expect a strong close. But one thing I have to touch on, and I've mentioned this before. I don't know how long we continue to hold on to coaches that just, I mean, it's a tough conversation to have, because I gotta reference Chris Thompson, man, because he is an outlier here. He's a guy that in the first 3 years here, you were like, what the hell's going on? His first 3 years at Florida State, the man had Kobe Gross and what other tight ends we had out there, bro? We didn't have any. The man recruited Brian Courtney, who I don't know what Brian Courtney's going to be, and Jabril Powers. Don't know what he's going to be either. Good young pieces to have, but they were always known as projects. We always knew they were projects, right? But in an instant, the man turned that room around with an unprecedented run. Again, how much credit do we give him for the transfer guys? I don't know. But you damn, even if you say, well, he don't get credit for the transfer guy or Jaheim Bell. He definitely got credit for Kyle Morlock. He definitely going to get credit for Landon Thompson. He's definitely going to get credit for Fox. I mean, and because of that, I struggle going, JP needs to go at the end of this year, because I don't know how this thing ends. I don't know how this finishes out. Because JP hasn't been great in high school, but he hasn't been terrible either. We did get Lamont Green Jr. last year. Now, whether that's just from him being a legacy or not, hey, I've seen many a legacy go elsewhere. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we didn't get Falk. And I think if we got Falk, I think Falk would have been competing for playing time now. You feel me? You didn't get Falk. You didn't get Marvin Jones Jr. for whatever that's worth, whether that's JP's fault or some other stuff behind the scenes that everybody always alludes to. Okay, whatever. It's hard for me, with the exception of Randy, it's hard for me to really call for any coach's job. I don't do it for Odell anymore, because it's like me talking to a brick wall. Every time I talk about Odell, a million people are going to come in the comment section and tell me how I'm wrong about Odell. So that there's no point of mentioning that. Odell's going to be at Florida State till he decides he doesn't want to be here anymore. I'm pretty sure of that. And again, if there's one thing I can say about Coach Odell, he develops the position. He absolutely develops the position. I can't take that away from him at all. It just would be nice to get some of those day one guys. And I don't feel like we get those anymore. But whatever. It's just hard for me, man. It's hard for me to talk about coaches that should go or not. Because how much credit do you give JP for Jared Verse and Jermaine Johnson? I mean, for the last 2 years, and it's going to be this year, you've had one of the best defensive ends in the entire country. You went from Jermaine to Jarrett to Pat Payton's up next. So from on the field play, again, very similar to Odell, you can't really, can you really say fire the man? I don't know. I don't know. Unless your name's Randy Shannon, I don't really, I don't know, man. I don't know. Corey was good. Eric says the two older coaches on the defense has to go. Let me try again, Eric. The two older coaches on the defense has go to point of not wanting to entertain kids highly rated. Time for a change. I think what you're trying to say is they don't entertain kids who are highly rated. I don't think that's true for Odell. I do think Randy Shannon has his type that he's all. This has been the narrative of Randy no matter where he's been. Whether Randy's been at Miami, Florida, wherever, UCF, wherever Randy's been, this narrative has followed Randy. So I do agree that Randy just has a type of backer he recruits. And some may see that as a positive of, well, he doesn't look at stars, but he also looks at undersized guys that he tries, Randy has a type. And that may have worked in the past. I don't know if that's working now. Okay. But we'll see. We'll see what DeMarco Ward and some of these boys turn into. Odell, I think, is not. I don't think that's the case for Odell. I don't think Odell doesn't target top guys. I think the top guys say all the right things in the interview. I've heard it year after year out of all the top prospects. They all say Odell's the GOAT, who wouldn't want to play for him, and then none of them play for him. Odell clearly recruits the top guy. Whereas I look at linebacker recruiting and I go, damn, we're not even in the top 5 for 4-star linebackers. We usually make the top 5 for top-tier defensive tackles. We just don't close on them. So I don't think they're the same. I don't think they're the same. Let me update on let's get an update on Elite 11 real quick. Dan Squatch, man, what's going on with you? Let's update the Elite 11 real quick. As we wait for that to update. So we left off on Raiola. Ball hasn't hit the ground. Raiola scored a 44, so he's number 2 right now. Raiola was dealing, had a few dimes. We scored a 44. 44 for him. Williams with the 41. I think Luke's still coming up short, y'all. He still seems to have – he's had the worst day so far as it looks. Grunkmeyer, not sure what he'll score, but Grunkmeyer was my favorite QB so far. Love how he throws it. Coming from one of the staff over here at 247. I think Luke's still coming up last, guys. And I forget where I left off at. But yeah, man, let me get to some more. There's some more comments. William says he gives JP no credit for verse. Man, JP can't recruit. Dude hasn't landed a top 50 recruit his entire career. So Lamont Green wasn't top 50? Or you don't count Lamont Green because I'm just asking. If we don't, do we not count Lamont Green because he was a legacy guy and he was going to come here regardless? Or Lamont Green was definitely a top 350, bro. As a matter of fact, Dante Anderson was also a top 350 guy. I know he's a walk-on, but you realize he was a 4-star walk-on. I still don't know how they pulled that off, but they pulled it off. So, I think y'all ain't giving the man credit for what he has done. I understand losing Falk, and I understand what just happened with Stevenson. I get it. But I don't understand. What I don't understand is why we're glossing over who he has brought in, Dante Anderson, Lamont Green Jr. We have a 4-star linebacker visiting Tuesday. Jonathan says Pat Payton. I think Pat Payton was top 350. Pat Payton was a blue chip too. Again, I don't know why do we not give him credit for Pat. Just ask him questions. Is Luke done for tonight? I don't think so. I think this is only round 1 of tonight. I don't think Luke is done for tonight. I don't know what other events are tonight. I don't know if this is the only event. I don't think it is. The way they're wording it, I think there are going to be other events tonight. Grunkenmeyer with the 42. But we'll see. We'll wait and see what's going on with that. The wide receiver DB board. Yeah, those are the 2 boards that really have been the best right now in terms of just what they're targeting and the amount of quality players that they actually have traction with. What's our current recruiting ranking for 2024? Let's look it up. But I think it's number 9, or I think it's number 9. Let's look it up real quick because why not? Right now, Florida State sits, according to 247, Florida State actually sits at number 11, according to 247. I think On3 has them as a top 10, but let's double check there. On3 has them at number 10. So on On3, they're just inside the top 10 at 10. And on 247, they're right outside the top 10 at 11. So there you go. There you go. We'll see how they finish off. Let's talk about JP for a second, because I want to look at some of the guys he's recruited. So Lamont Green was nationally ranked 295. So again, he was a top 350 player. So the narrative that he hasn't signed a top 350 guy is still wrong. So you got Lamont Green. I don't know what you really count. Jaden Jones was a top 20 JUCO guy, number 3 JUCO guy at his position, but obviously JUCO didn't get ranked. So I don't know what credit you give him for Jaden Jones, but there you go. He also signed Jaden Jones last year. If you go to 22, the guy that doesn't get talked to. So 22 was Dante Anderson, and obviously he doesn't get counted because he walked on. So you won't see him on the recruiting rankings as far as top edge guys. The top edge guy, though, was actually Aaron Hester, who was 464, 3-star. Considered the top edge guy that they officially signed in the 23 class. But again, that's also the year they brought in Jared Verse. Some people say for whatever reason they don't give him any credit for Jared Verse. Again, that's interesting, but okay. I ain't gonna argue with you. Then there was Chambry Jackson, who was a D-line / defensive end. I guess we're gonna give Odell credit for that. That's fine. Pat Payton was 329. They actually list him as a linebacker, but we know he was an edge. He was top 350 guy. George Wilson was right outside the top 350 at 366. Obviously, he's not here anymore. He was actually a 4-star too. Of course, Byron Turner at 406. So they signed some guys in 2021. And then 2020 is the transition class. I don't know how much stock we put in 2020. But the top edge guy in 2020, top edge guy in 2020 was pretty bad because that was Josh Griffiths. So you won't get me to lie to you. Definitely got to up the recruiting there. But the notion that he hasn't signed anybody is is not correct. And then, of course, if you go to the transfer portal, you're talking about he's brought in Gilbert Edmond, he's brought in Jerry Verse, Keir Thomas, Jermaine Johnson. So let me get to the comments. If Papuchis can help bring in top portal guys, and I ain't sweating that nerd that went to Stansbury, but will eventually transfer to FSU anyways. Let's get this. I don't give him credit for Lamont because he was going to be a no regardless, but I'll give you Anderson. Apparently 18 is the highest ranking we've had within the past 4 years in recruiting. Is it? Actually, is that true? Last year, we were 16. Overall rank, last year's recruiting class was 16. Right outside top 15. So that's just last year. In 2022, it was 19. And in 2021, it was 21. So last year was Mike Norvell's best recruiting class. Caveman says, most of my buddies are FSU fans, and I hate it. But I asked them, what is Mike Norvell's most impressive win? Because I don't think he's a bad coach. I just haven't seen championship coaching from him. Chat, answer the question. What is Mike Norvell's best win? I have my thoughts. It's a decent question. I don't think it's that hard of a question. But what was Mike Norvell's best win? If Coach JP put Johnson, Pops, Burst, and Peyton in the league in 4 years, the Boot's going to be a dude. I'll definitely. So the only pushback I'll have on that damn squatch is Jermaine, right? He was going to be in the league whether he played for JP or not. But I definitely give you Verse and Pat. You say Pops. Is Keir in the league? Is Keir? I don't know if he's in the league. I could be wrong there. LSU, but 45-3 is pretty sweet. So the answer is, in my opinion, LSU is Mike Norvell's best win. Neutral site game in Louisiana, New Orleans. And we talked about it, man. We talked about it leading up to last year, how from a visual, from the optics of it, how that game needed to look. Right? Mike needed that game. Because the negative recruiting around Mike Norvell was at an all-time high this time last year. Because it was going bad. We can't deny that, right? We can't deny that. So he needed LSU. He needed that game. And he got that game. And that game set the tone for the year, and they ended off on a high note as well. So that's definitely, in my opinion, Mike Norvell's crowning achievement, was beating LSU. I don't care if it was Brian Kelly's first year. None of that matters. It's LSU, it's Florida State, it's prime time, it's Labor Day weekend, and he won that game. And he needed to win that game. And everybody said that was an overrated LSU team. Well, that LSU team went to the SEC championship. So at the end of the day, needed that win, and he got that win. Okay, if you take that win away, this is where it becomes a little bit more of a debate, because you can argue a bunch of games. You could argue that North Carolina game. Ultimately, I don't think that North Carolina game meant anything, but it was a good moment that year, and a year that was god-awful. It was a good moment. But for me, his second biggest victory is ending the Miami win streak in the manner that we did it in my opinion. You got to show that you can beat your rivals, and that started it. That's probably his second biggest victory for me, is winning that Miami game. LSU won, Miami in 2021 is 2. Let's look back over here at the comments. Okay, he plays with the Rams. That's what's up. I didn't know he played. Yeah, RIP to Ray Lewis's son, man. I don't know the details behind it, but I did see it. I think that's sad. Anytime I'm not trying to sound like I'm like a tough guy, but I don't fear much, to be quite honest with you. But the one thing as a parent, I think every parent fears is having to bury a child, because that should never be the case. That's not that natural order of things, right? It should be the other way around. So thoughts and prayers definitely go out to Ray Lewis and his family, because that's tough. That is tough. Shout out to Jeff, man, with the $10 dono. He says Norvell beat LSU last year, beat Miami 2 years in a row, and he beat North Carolina. That was number 5 in the country at the time. I think that was his first year. It was definitely his first year. Again, it's a COVID year. So I appreciate the super chat, Jeff. LSU, Miami, definitely 1 and 2. My problem with North Carolina is, were they really the number 5 team in the country? Okay, that year they were. But we got to – do we count the COVID year or we don't? Because everybody says they don't count the COVID year. It was year 0, and that Mike Norvell is really in his 3rd year of Florida State, not his 4th year. I'm not going to argue with it. To some degree, I agree with that. But then you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say the COVID year didn't count, but then say the North Carolina win is one of Mike's greatest achievements. That's just my take, though. But as always, man, Jeff, you know I love you and you know I appreciate you.
The money goes into my piggy bank.
Jeff.
Yeah, Terrell hit it. Terrell's my same thoughts, right? UNC was a great moment in what was a terrible year. But I mean, again, do we count COVID or we don't? If we count it, okay. But then you also have to count the 3-6 season and everything that comes with it. If we don't count it, then we don't count it. And UNC was just, just what it was. You put a lot of stock in that Louisville game. I get why. I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing about the Louis game that was most impressive. And it's not just the Tate Rodemaker thing. It's that they changed the game. It's that Mike showed he can call the game to a new player's strength. I think one of the questions I had, and maybe some people had, I know I had, especially leading up, was through the first previous years, it seemed like Jordan Travis just wasn't what Mike wanted at quarterback. It seemed like they tried everything to play everybody but Jordan Travis, right? I mean, at one point, Tate Rodemaker was on the depth chart higher than Jordan Travis was. And then, of course, they got Milton, and we played musical chairs. After saying all offseason, pick a starter and stick with them, we did the opposite. It just seemed like, for whatever reason, they were doing their best to find a way around Jordan Travis. And then eventually they bought in. And Jordan Travis, finally it clicked and we started taking off. By the end of 2021, Jordan Travis was not the same quarterback he was, right? That Miami game, even that Florida game, you could see that Jordan Travis, something clicked in Jordan Travis by the end of 2021 that made you think, okay, he could be pretty good in 22. But how, how good really? And then he was amazing last year. The impressive thing about Louisville was that they deviated from all of that and went right back to Tate Rodemaker and were able to call a game. They understood Tate's liabilities and essentially just shortened the field and said, man, you just read one half of the field. We're going to do one read, and you're just one read and throw. And Louisville played right into our hand. A lot of that, I hate to say it, but a lot of that's got to do with Louisville's defensive coordinator in that game, because I don't know how many times Johnny Wilson's going to burn you before you double cover. And you just left Jarvis Brownlee on an island. Well, I got plenty of tape that shows Jarvis Brownlee on an island is BBQ chicken, baby. And the D coordinator made no adjustment. And Mike said, well, if you're not going to make the adjustment, I'm going to exploit this one half of the field. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And you got to give them credit. That's the impressive thing about, I think, the Louisville game, was that they called the game to Tate Rodemaker's strength and was able to come out there with the victory. Respectable response. Do I think he's a championship level coach? Here's the thing. Is anybody – Dabo Swinney had blunder after blunder before he became a championship level coach. Okay? Bobby Bowden was known as the coach who couldn't win the big one before he became a championship level coach. I don't know if Mike Norvell's a championship level coach, but I know Mike Norvell's a young coach, and I know he's improved every year. It's the same thing I say about Adam Fuller. And, you know, and I've gone from being an Adam Fuller hater to a defender of his. I won't go as far as to say I'm a supporter, but I am a defender because he's improved year after year. My question becomes, what more does Adam Fuller have to do? The talent level increases, the team gets better. Would you like to see more schematic things from Adam Fuller? I mean, sure, I guess. But how many of the players currently fit or have fit what Adam Fuller has wanted to run? We're going to see as we continue to up the talent level if Adam Fuller is indeed the guy. It's the same thing I'll say about Mike. Mike's coming into this season with the best offense he's probably ever had in his entire coaching career, whether that's at Memphis or whatever. Not only is it obviously the most talented offense he's ever fielded in his coaching career, it's probably going to be the most cohesive offense he's ever fielded in his career because everybody came back. So you're really going to see what Mike is. I don't know if he's championship level, but I know a lot of coaches that weren't thought of championship level eventually went and won one, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Is Ryan Day championship level coach? I don't know. He's gotten pretty close, but he hasn't won one yet. But would anybody? What about Lincoln Riley? Right? We can go down a list of coaches. You can go down a list of coaches. I did see the Pokey do his thing in training camp. Do you think one of the QBs leave in the offseason? I do. With Luke coming in, I do think a quarterback will leave at the end of next year. Yeah, man. I told y'all before the beginning of the season what that was. Let's get some updates on Elite 11 real quick, y'all. Air Nolan's up. Hawkins had a 36. What did Luke finish with again, y'all? I think Luke finished lower than 36, didn't he? I still think Luke's the low guy here tonight. It's looking like. So I'm just trying to get some updates. Got a few updates, but nothing major. Nothing major. Okay. Let's get it. Says we're still having those communication issues on the back end. Are we? I guess in the Florida game you can make the case. Now, my question when it comes to communicating issues, is that a player thing or a coach thing? I'm just asking. I don't necessarily have the answer there. Is that a player thing or a coach thing when you talk about communicating in the back end? Nick Saban, I mean, good point from Damian, right? Nick Saban at Michigan State. Nobody would have looked at Nick Saban's Michigan State trajectory and said he would eventually become what he became, right? So, man, that's a good point. It's hard to answer. Is Mike Norvell a championship level coach? But as far as the back end miscommunications, the Florida game to me is the only game that really stands out on that. I'm interested to see Coach Surtain coach the DBs and how they play. I've had a problem with DB play for a while. The one thing I've always questioned Adam Fuller, and I still do, it's not a question. It's more so a use of the way he uses safeties. He demands a lot. I mean, look at Jamie Robinson, and that's one of the reasons why I've been so adamant on finding safeties for this year. Not because I know everybody's like, safety position to figure itself out. Okay, fine. Adam Fuller depends on his safeties to do a lot of different things. He uses them. They don't just sit back and ball hawk. I want you to go watch Jamie Robinson and look how many things they ask that one guy to do. Jamie Robinson played almost everywhere in that defense. And so my question is, do you have that guy? Is Shaheem that guy? And I'm not really a fan of putting your safeties in certain positions. That would be the thing I criticize on Fuller. And that can be when y'all start talking about the back end, the lapses on the back end. Maybe he puts too much responsibility on that position. I mean, maybe you can argue that, but for me, that's where I'm at with it, right? My question is, does it improve with better caliber of player? Are we having the same question if you have a better caliber of safety back there? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what they do. Are they only having one? Maybe they are only having one drill tonight. So Luke might be done for tonight. But yeah, he had a bad night. Terrell says, it takes a team to develop and recruit teams before coming a championship. Golden State and more. Patience and trust the process. If you're Miami, then you think in the championship every year. As O-line, D-line kind of guy, it's kind of always hard to balance at DB. Like, they kind of got to be self-absorbed nut job. Performance swings pretty hard. Kind of like some QBs are just head cases. I think those DBs is one of the most inconsistent positions to grade because Dan Squad's right. Like, the performance swings, man. You can have a lockdown game and give up 3 touchdowns the next game. Like, it's tough. It's tough to evaluate. And I don't think I have a knock on Fuller. I don't know if he does his safeties any favors. Now, some guys might just excel in that type of conversation. But, eventually it clicks because I can go show you tape from 2012 of LaMarcus Joyner being out of position, missing plays, and all that stuff. But the defense as a whole was a good defense. Nobody criticizes Mark Stoops. Come the next year, Marcus Joyner was a Thorpe Award finalist. Like, hey, inconsistent play. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. What other questions we got? I think Elite 11 might be wrapping up here. Like, again, I don't know if there's any more drills, but apparently it might be it. Let's see what they're saying about Air Nolan. Very high on Nolan. Nolan with the 41. So yeah, I think Luke still has the worst score. I still think Luke has the worst score. What was Luke's score again? I think it was like a 32. So I think that still is the worst score for tonight. It's not a good look for my man Luke. Yeah, 32. I think 32 is still the worst score of the night, man. But man, continue to hit the like button. And yeah, I think we're gonna see. I'm excited for this defense. I worry about the depth of this defense. This is my main concern. But I like our starting 11 for the most part. It's just the secondary rotations are going to be interesting for me because of that safety room. And then they got some corners to decide what they're going to do with. I don't know where Jerry and Jones fits. I have to think he's going to get plenty of snaps, but I don't think he starts, right? You still got Kevin Knowles. I know he's still injured. And until I hear differently, I think the plan is for him to miss like half of the season. Maybe it's today's medicine. He could be ready by the start of we don't know. But originally he said he'd be out till mid-season, so I don't know what necessarily is going on there. I would love to have him. I think Knowles is a guy who you could have moved to safety. Maybe. I still think I think eventually AZ makes that move. The problem, I won't even say it's a problem. I think AZ might make that move. I think ultimately AZ might make that move. I think that's the best move, in my opinion, is for him to make that move. And then maybe Conrad Hussey or somebody can also get in there. But it's going to take a couple games for them to get acclimated, in my opinion. It's just a quarterback competition, bro. It's just the quarterbacks go out there, they do different pro style drills. It's just a quarterback competition. This measures, arm talent, decision making, ball placement, accuracy. The quarterback competition. To the Elite 11's credit, if you actually look at guys that have won it, it's all pretty much translated to them being pretty good college quarterbacks. I think Caleb Williams won it one year. He won a Heisman. Go back and check the Elite 11 MVPs from the overall competition, and there's a pretty good track record of them being good. So I don't want to say the Elite 11 doesn't mean anything, because track record said it means something. But just because you don't win it, don't mean you won't be good. Now, Trey Benson wasn't able to run on LSU like Ward. Did Toyfilly get more carries that game? I don't know. I don't think so. I think you got to remember Trey Benson. That was his second game of college football, really. Because remember, he didn't play at Oregon much due to an injury. So I think you're not getting the same Trey Benson. You're not getting the same Trey Benson that you had last year at this time, and you're not getting the same O-line that you had last year at this time. So it doesn't mean Toyfilly don't get his share of opportunities, but I think Trey Benson will be fine. Dan Scar said he getting married. Wait a minute. Getting married the weekend of Pitt. Them boys better not leave Mr. hanging like they did Brady Scott. Well, congratulations to you. For real, man. Move Jerry into safety. I'll pass on the Jerry and safety talk. Just me, though. I'll pass. Luke had a 32 today, which I believe is a low score of the night. So not a good look for Luke Cromanhawk tonight. Strong first day. He's leveled off kind of here. So big first day, bottom second day. So right here, probably middle of the pack as it goes right now. What's going on, Irv? So there's that. Jurian will let so much behind him. I'm good on that. I don't want to see Jurian at safety. I would love to see AZ out there though. And I think they'll figure it out at safety. I think defensively, that's the biggest question I have for this team going for 2023. But I like the starters, but you got to find some key depth pieces. You got to find that third guy off the edge. You've got to find that third guy in that safety room as of right now. You can't name that guy. You have a bunch of candidates, but you can't name that guy because the guys you can name, unless AZ officially makes that move, you're talking about freshmen or a JUCO freshman. So not a lot of valid safeties behind Dent and Brown. So you just got to find some depth pieces. You got to figure out your corner rotation. My guess is it's Cypress, Green, and Vance, and at nickel. Then you got to determine, okay, where's Jerry and Jones fit? Is AZ a corner or a safety this year? If so, Jerry and Jones, AZ, probably your first guys off the bench. How much does Edwin Joseph play in the slot? What's he going to be? Like, you got some young talent with Kirkland and Edwin Joseph and Conrad Hussey and Rawls and Quindarius Jones. You signed a big DB class. How much of those guys going to play year one? They might be asked to perform early. You won't hear me say another bad word about Jerry and Jones. Well, good for you, Dan Squatch, but I will. I think y'all are putting a little bit too much stock in Jerry and Jones' great zone coverage, which, if that's his strength, then that's definitely how they should use him. The numbers say that Jerry and Jones excels as more of a off-man cover 3 type corner, which is dope. Cool. I'm with it. We play a lot of man-to-man coverage. He don't play good man-to-man coverage. Go watch our defense. We play a lot of man-to-man. And if we're going to do that, Jerry and Jones can't be on the field. You go watch the difference between him and man-to-man, and then go watch the difference between him and zone. It's night and day. Good zone corner, everything else. Played good at the end of the season, cool. Can you do it consistently? It is what it is. I am not going to sit here and pretend like Jerry and Jones, in my opinion, turned some corner. If he did turn that corner, as y'all want to say, I won't say anything bad about Jerry. They wouldn't have went out and got Fentrell Cypress. I saw the history of the Elite 11. Some good QBs got drafted, but saw you drafted and messed up in the NFL. Saw FSU QBs a lot. How do I feel about Jaden Floyd? I a great young man. If we see him playing safety at any point this year, whoo, call that shit a wrap. Look, when you come over here, bro, this is what you're going to get. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a reason why I conduct business the way I conduct it. I'm not going to tell you a lie because I want to spare feeling. None of it's personal for me. I only talk about football on the field. You've never heard me attack a kid and in their personal life. Jaden Floyd has a great YouTube channel that I like to watch. Never going to attack a kid personally. I can understand how they take football personally because it's what they do. But I'm strictly talking about the game. If at any point you see Jaden Floyd playing significant minutes in this secondary, I'm telling you, something went freaking awry. And yeah. That's what I'll say there. Dan Squatch. Everybody wants to be a corner, and you got to tell them that they are. Who's willing to put their face in the fan? Starting to get enough size and length, somebody going to have to be a safety. Again, I think AZ makes the best transition to it. One thing I love about this, one thing I will say about the recruiting of the room, Rawls wasn't that highly recruited of a kid. Quindarius Jones, another kid that wasn't highly rated. But they are big, long, lanky corners. I'm with it. Like, if you're gonna recruit those type of kids, then aesthetically they have to fit the bill. What I don't want to see is you recruiting the 700th player in the nation, calling him a gym, and he's a 5'10", 165-pound corner. That doesn't equate, right? But now if you're going to recruit a kid that's the 600th player in the country, but he's 6'2", he's long and he's rangy, I'm with it. I'll take it. I'm willing to give that kid a chance to show it. Size like that, you can't. What can't you coach? You can't coach size. You can't coach natural athletic ability. Those things are genetics. That's the genetic lottery that we talk about, right? You can train a kid to be whatever you want to train him to be as an athlete. At a certain point, they're gonna hit a wall. You know why? Because genetics play a bigger role in all of this. And you can't coach size. You can't coach fast twitch. You either got that, you're either born with that, or you're just the guy. And it is what it is. It is what it is. How I had a feeling about the game with him inside. He probably can be a great one. Maybe we just have to wait. About Jaden Floyd, I mean, look, no offense to Jaden Floyd, but he's a walk-on for a reason. His dad went to Florida State. He's a legacy kid, but Jaden Floyd's a walk-on for a reason, man. I mean, go watch the spring game and go tell me who they was picking on. Picking on Jaden Floyd. Jaden Floyd gave up like 2-3 touchdowns. It's the spring, you know, but it is what it is. I miss Travis J. I was interested to see how he improved. We'll see what Travis J is at Colorado, though. This staff do be making hay in the margins. I trust the evaluations. Heard Dylan Brown. Yeah, I saw his interview too. People really gonna be eating crow on him. And I mean, I hope so. I'll eat it. I've never shied away from saying, man, I was wrong on the jit. Never shied away from it. I was wrong on Trey Benson, which most people were. I'm trying to think who else I was wrong on. Y'all tell me, who some guys I was wrong on? I can't remember. I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but who are some guys that I wasn't high on and they proved me wrong? Trey Benson was one, but that's everybody felt that way about Trey Benson. And that was because he's coming off a knee injury and had no production at Oregon, so we didn't know what we were getting there. But I was definitely wrong on Trey, as most people were. Okay, that's fair. I was wrong on Fuller. And again, I'm a Fuller supporter, or I'm a Fuller defender now. So that's fair. I'm more so speaking to players, though. I'm more so speaking to players, Briley. So who else was I wrong on that I can say, oh, I'll eat crow? And that I said wasn't going to be a good player and turned out to be good. I can say I eat a little bit of crow on DJ Lundy. I think DJ Lundy losing the weight has helped him, but I also think the addition of Tatum Bethune and the fact that you can use DJ Lundy in certain spots has helped with his usage. But I will eat a little bit of crow on Lundy because I didn't think he would really ever be a player. And he had a good year last year. He's still not an every down backer. But for what they ask him to do, I think he's effective. Mo, okay, that's fair. I ate crow on Mo. I never said a word bad about Kalen DeLoach. I don't know where you're getting that from, Kerry. I never said DeLoach couldn't play. Definitely didn't say anything bad about you. What are we talking? Are y'all just naming random people? I'll eat a little I'll eat a little crow. I said Jermaine Johnson, first of all, was. I'm not getting to Jermaine Johnson. Never stopped that. It was apparent from the day Jermaine Johnson stepped on campus, he was different than everybody else on that team. Verse, I didn't think would be as good as early as he was. I can admit that. I thought Verse would need time to adapt, and I was shocked that he was as good as he was that early. I never said Verse would be a bad player. I didn't think Verse was going to be that good that early. So, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I didn't need to see Verse in action, so I agree with there. Like I said, I didn't know Verse would be that good that early. And Mo, I'll give you Mo. No, man, I like Gibbons from the jump. I definitely I like Gibbons from the jump. I can't agree with that. I never said a word bad about Gibbons. Gibbons didn't get now Gibbons had a string of times where he was getting penalized a lot, but I was one of the people that was telling people everybody else was down on there were people saying, well, Gibbons couldn't make it at Notre Dame. Why do we want him? And I was the one sitting on here saying, bro, at the time, whether or not he was good at Notre Dame, he's better than anything we got. So no, I won't do Gibbons. These guys are tripping. They're just naming names, bro. I never said anything bad about Jamie either. Jamie started excelling when they actually moved him from safety and took him at a nickel. Our old safety, forgot his name. He went to and then Jordan Travis. Here's the crazy thing about Jordan Travis. I said they should have started Jordan Travis when Mike Norvell took the job. And then they went and they did Blackman and Rodemaker, right? Then I felt like, okay, you obviously don't want Jordan Travis. I felt like then they started him by default. And then you brought in Mackenzie Milton, who I thought, well, damn, you're going to bring in Mackenzie Milton. If he's anything like he was before the knee injury, yeah, Mackenzie Milton's the guy. And all I ever asked was for them to pick a quarterback. People forget they started Jordan Travis at the beginning of the year. People forget how bad he was in that Notre Dame game. Go watch the Notre Dame game. Go look at he's like 5 for 20 or something crazy in that game. He was god awful in that Notre Dame game. People forget how bad Jordan Travis was in that game. So it's not like Jordan Travis came out the thing swinging. But I mean, okay, that's fair. But I was the one that thought when Norvell took over, he should have started Travis. When he didn't, well, then I thought they didn't see it in him. But who knows? Norvell needed to give Jerry Travis half his pay. If he played him earlier, he would be a little further. Yeah, it was god awful in that game. He had multiple. Terrible complete. Again, you can go look at the numbers. Forget about even watching. Just go look. I mean, he wasn't good in that game, right? Then Milton has that flash at the end of the game. Wore a bad snap in that game from tying it up and going into overtime. And then I think it's Bavion Johnson snaps the ball right over Mackenzie Milton's head or whatever it was. You know, a lot of things happened at the end of that game, but yeah. But like I said, if I'm wrong on a guy, like I was right. Just like I was wrong when you talk about players that I thought would be good. I was wrong on Lloyd Willis. I was wrong on Warren Thompson. That might be about it, though. I think Steven Dix. At one time, I was really high on Steven Dix, and he just never got better, which was crazy to me. Steven Dix is one. That's all I can think of. Starting O-line this year. Man, starting O-line this year has been up for debate. I still think from left to right, I still think you're going to go Bless Harris. I think Bless Harris will be moved to starting left tackle. Casey Roddick at guard, Mo at center. That right guard is the only one that I don't know as of right now until I'm going to treat right guard like I treat the center. Until someone shows me they're going to beat out Meach. Meach is going to be the starter. And then at right tackle will be Robert Scott. That is my starting O-line. But I will admit that right guard spot can be up for debate. That's probably literally a 3-man battle because I know y'all Byers obviously is there. Meach came back. And then Keandre Jones might be the most physically gifted of all three of them. might be the most physically gifted of all three of them. So for me, yeah, to me, there's no way Casey Roddick doesn't start. I think he is your replacement for Dylan Gibbons. And if anything, the spring kind of showed that. If you go watch Casey Roddick in the spring and Byers, now I do think Byers was playing out of position in the spring. I think the spring showed that he's not a tackle. He's definitely probably a guard at this level. At UTEP, he might have got away with being a tackle. At Florida State, he's going to be a guard. But Roddick looked better than Byers to me in the spring. So if I'm only judging from what I've seen them play Florida State level talent, then yeah, Roddick over Byers. Yes. Yeah, y'all keep telling me Byers is starting. Okay. But I'm just telling you from what I've seen, Byers isn't, again, playing out of position, I think. But they had him starting at tackle in the spring, and Byron Turner and Dante Anderson were giving Byers that work. Byron Turner and Dante Anderson were giving Byers that work. Let me repeat that. Dante Anderson and Byron Turner. So we're not talking about Verse. We're not talking about Pat. We're talking two guys that are just trying to get playing time at edge, and they were putting Byers through a blender. Now, again, if I do think he's not a tackle, so that could be the reason there. Let's see what he is at guard, but he didn't look good in his one-on-one or, being out there on the island with these pass rushers that you wouldn't necessarily say is top tier. Granted, they can become that or may be that. So I don't know, man. I know everybody's high on Byers. I'm not high on Byers. I just think I got to go by what I see. And I thought Casey Roddick definitely held up very well as he was one of the starters in the spring game. Keandre Jones had his moments, but he also had some moments that weren't great. And again, until somebody shows me they can beat Meach, I'm not going to say Meach not the starter. I just got to see it though. But I think that right guard's up for spot. Other than that, I don't think there's any other positions on the O-line up for grabs. I think obviously one or two of those transfers aren't going to start. Which Byers and Jones, they have multiple years of eligibility. Roddick's here for a year, which is one of the reasons why I think he plays. I mean, he's definitely got I mean, we've talked about O-line, Dan Squatch. He's definitely got a full room there. He's got a full room at O-line for sure. Byers, Atkins has we're deep on the O-line. 9 or 10 wins is our basement. I don't think 9 wins is impossible. I would say at worst 9 wins is our base. 9 wins means we lost similar to last year. It means you probably lost to all the good teams you played. So you lost to Clemson, LSU, and then pick a third team. Maybe that's a Pitt. Maybe you stumble against one of your rivals. Maybe one of your rivals has a better team than what's anticipated. I think 9 is the basement. I think it's acceptable, but people wouldn't be too happy about it, right? I think 9 is the basement. Meach, Mo, and Scott are lock starters. I think Bless is a lock starter. I'm basing this off what I seen. I'm just basing that off what I seen in the spring, of course. That's what I said. Scott, Byers, Mo, Meach, and Harris. I'm afraid Meach's arm length gonna bite him against LSU, Clemson, UF, and Miami. Okay. You going to any home games this season? We're gonna see what I can make. We're gonna see what I can make this year. Top level talent like Mason Smith, and whatever fresh corp of guys from Clemson gets hands on first. Jones is the great hope if he can maximize his opportunity and consistency. He's your other guard. Jones' ceiling is crazy. Y'all forgetting that J. Trav's injury prone. Is that true, Mason? I think we not dispelled the injury prone. Jordan Travis didn't miss a game last year. He missed a half of football. He missed a half of football last year. We keep calling him injury prone. The year before that, the man missed one game for being sick, not even being hurt. That was when the bug was going around there. I think that's the NC State game when Milton got the nod over Chuba, and Chuba then hit the portal. And then Chuba hit the portal after that. He wasn't hurt. He was sick. Other than that, they just rotated quarterbacks. Blamed injury, but yet was putting Jordan Travis out at wide receiver. The injury prone thing is overblown, bro. That dude's not injury prone. The man didn't miss a game last year. For a guy that's injured, when you call someone injury prone, that means they've missed multiple games throughout a career due to injury. Didn't miss one game last year, missed a half of football last year. And then the games he comes back and he plays, you can say, well, he hobbled back or whatever you want to say. Was Jordan Travis the reason why you lost to NC State, or is it the fact that guys drop passes? I just don't buy the injury prone thing. That's just me, though. I'd be surprised if we had anybody hit the portal before fall camp. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anything can happen, obviously. My hope is that no one hits, especially off the defense. I don't know if we can afford any players off the defense. Would it shock me if a receiver or hell, maybe even a running back hit? No, wouldn't shock me there. Hell, maybe even an offensive lineman. Like, again, we're talking about O-line and how deep we are. I mean, Quayshawn Sapp, Jalen Early, Kanile Charlton, like these guys, Dante Richardson, maybe one of those guys sees the writing off the wall. I'm going to tell you, since we're talking O-line, I'm going to tell you a name that you want to watch out for. Now, he's not going to play right away. But you want to talk about an impressive kid? I listened to that kid, Otto, his interview. That's an impressive young man. And he has a mentality that I love, and I think they got one there. I know he wasn't highly recruited, but I'm looking at his frame when he was at the podium giving his interview. I'm just looking at his thought process and the way he's answering questions. That's a kid to watch out for in the future. He doesn't have the high-end upside as our other guy, obviously the 6'9" Sweden, Simmons. That guy has first-round talent potential. But Otto is a guy who it wouldn't shock me if Otto's like all ACC before it's said and done. Like, I think you got one there since we're talking O-line. To the point, it wouldn't shock me if an O-lineman maybe hit the portal before. Again, I hope nobody hits, but there's that O-line room. The more they continue to bring in, eventually someone's gonna hit. Eventually someone's gonna decide I'm just not gonna get any burn here, So O-line's gonna be interesting to watch. And that's true too. Anybody that hits the portal between now and August, not only do they not want it, they're be ineligible to play next year. So I don't even know. At this point, it doesn't benefit anybody to hit the portal unless you're a grad transfer, which most of those guys have already hit. It doesn't make sense for any underclassmen to hit the portal as of right now. You'll be sacrificing a year for what? If anything, get your practice reps, even if you know you ain't seeing the field. Get your practice reps in, get your scout team reps in, whatever it is. Continue to develop, and then hit the portal at the end of the year. But to Dan Squatch's point, it doesn't make sense to hit the portal at this point. You're just throwing a year of development away to hit the portal right now. will bringing in so many impact transfers each year cost us high school recruitment? Y'all know me, man. I'm a defender of the portal. I don't think I think we make too much of a big deal of the portal. At the end of the day, man, kids, you got to compete, right? At the end of the day, you got to compete. And if you scared to compete or whatever the case, it don't matter where the talent's coming from, whether that's coming from portal or that's coming from the high school ranks. You shouldn't be worried about if you believe in yourself, you shouldn't be worried about who else is in the room. And the only position that I've only ever given a pass to is quarterback, because there's only one quarterback. But every other position, man, you can rotate guys. Every other position gets plenty of chances to be a part of a rotation. I don't think it's a valid excuse. I think you can do both at a high level. I just think the better only thing I'll say this: the better high school recruiting you do, it then makes you more selective in the portal and what you target.
Daddy,
Yes.
can I have my pizza, please? But can you help me get it?
Go get it.
It's way too high.
It's on the table, man. Go get it. Dang. That kid. Made me forget what I was talking about. Kids, man. Just throw you off base. Oh, portal and just its ability, the effect the portal has on high school recruiting. To me, it's negligible, but again, whatever. I think, again, you acquire talent. Whether that's through the portal or recruiting, you acquire talent. You know? And again, I think it's not way too high, Briley. He's just making stuff up. But again, I think the better you recruit at the positions, the different type of talent you'll attract or you'll pursue in the portal. For instance, FSU doesn't take us. They don't take a due span if wide receiver recruiting at that time was at a good level. You can be a little bit more selective with the guys you would have taken there. But you took Deuce Spann because he was worth the risk. He's a guy that you saw had some potential. He's tall, he's long, and he's got speed. Is he a natural receiver? Probably not, but that's a guy that maybe you can groom. So you take a flyer on him. Going forward, look at what Florida State's going to take in the portal now going forward. When you're recruiting Hakeem Williams and Venturius Jacobs and Goldie Lawrence and those type of guys that you're recruiting, you get Dustin Hill to actually grace us with his presence. You go get a guy like Keon Coleman. You don't waste your time with all these other receivers. Now you target these specific guys. I think that's the difference when you start talking about recruiting in the portal. Is the better you recruit, then the more you can limit your targets, right, in the portal, and maybe take some better or more elite level guys. Opposing coaches will use that. I don't believe that. Good luck, I guess, but everybody's doing it. That hasn't seemed to matter for Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin calls himself the portal king. Like, why can Lane Kiffin be proud to be a guy who recruits out of the portal? Is anybody trying to? I mean, maybe they are trying to negatively recruit Lane Kiffin. I don't know if it's working or not. Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that personally. And I think anybody that listens to that is if someone's trying to tell you you don't want to go to Florida State, man, because they're just going to recruit the portal, I think that's ridiculous. Again, why do you care if you're? What's the difference between telling a kid, don't go to Florida State because they have another 5-star kid committed, and don't go to Florida State because they're looking at this big-time guy out of the portal? I mean, there's no difference. we're getting to a point in O-line depth where you can actually take developmental projects. We've got enough legit guys inside, outside. Let guys grow before they see the field. I can't wait to watch the defensive line. Terrell says you have to put in the work to be great. You just don't be slipping and messing up your knee. I buckled my knee and nearly tear a ligament. Most underrated player on the roster, Keziah Holmes. I'm so interested to watch him. I'm not going to lie to you. That's the guy that we talk about missing Trayshawn Ward, and can LT kind of step into Ward's shoes. And I think he can. But I think Keziah Holmes, if he is kind of what we think he may be, he's the guy that's going to make it, that's going to make that running back room nasty. He's the guy that is going to bring shades of that Devontae Freeman, Carlos Williams, James Wilder type three-headed monster, where all of those guys had over 500 yards rushing. I think Wilder had 500 and something yards. Carlos went for about 7. Devontae Freeman had over 1,000. Like, we could be seeing something like that if Keziah Holmes turns out to be what some of us think. I'm interested to see him. I was upset we didn't get to see him in the spring because I was very intrigued with wanting to see just how he looked. So Keziah Holmes might be that. He might be that. Hope Dustin Hill can punt return. I'd be amazed. Again, I have no expectations for Dustin in year one. And if he can just contribute on special teams, that's a plus. That's an absolute plus. If he can contribute in any way, that's an absolute plus. FSU is getting the right guys in the portal. I think so. I think they've done. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I think they've targeted. Has every portal player hit? No. I mean, we can talk about Andrew Parchment, who to this day, no matter what you think about Andrew Parchment, he's got that catch. He's got 4th and 14. No matter what you think about Parchment, he's got 4th and 14. But he wasn't the receiver we thought we were getting or hoping we were getting in that. And he was a guy that actually produced at Kansas, but he just couldn't get it locked in here. So they haven't hit on every portal guy, but they've been more times than not they've hit on the guys they've went and gotten the portal. The one position that they haven't hit on in the portal, well, I won't say that. Well, not that they haven't hit on it, but they've been 50-50. I will say has been running back. Whether that's DJ, remember some people was like DJ Williams from Auburn, who ended up transferring again. But then Trey Benson showed up and showed out. So we'll see there. Wide receiver, this last wide receiver class in the portal was really good. And we think we got another one in Keon. Bethune was great coming out of the portal. Defensive end room, they've demolished. They haven't had 8. Well, they had one miss at DN, and that was Cushney, who was coming from HBCU. I think it was coming from Alabama State. It was Cushney was the one guy they missed, but they brought Cushney in with Jermaine and Kier. So yeah, no, they've been top notch in the portal, man. My most underrated player. My most Alabama A&M. Okay, I knew it was Alabama something, but my most underrated player. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know. That's tough. I forgot about Darian. Darian Williams can't stay on the field, bro. I don't know how good he is. People keep telling me he's good. He can't stay on the field. He's always hurt. The most underrated player off the top, like Ray 50 hit it for me. Probably Ja'Kai. Ja'Kai is a guy who from day one I've been so high on. And every time they call his number, he's there. Every time they needed a big catch, it was Ja'Kai Douglas has been there. And for whatever reason, now granted, last year he was hurt the first half of the season. I think if he wasn't hurt the first half of the season, obviously he has a better year. But Ja'Kai Douglas is probably the guy. Ray 50 probably hit it for me. He's the guy that I've been high on from day one. And he just doesn't get the numbers. He doesn't get the targets, right? He doesn't get the opportunity, I think, that maybe he should. Like, you look at, again, I know he was hurt last year, so he gets a little bit of an asterisk for last year, but I think Ja'Kai could have gave you anything that Micah Pittman would have given you, right? So Ja'Kai might be the guy. He might be the guy that we know. We're so stuck on Johnny and Keon Coleman and Dustin Hill. I don't think people aren't talking about Ja'Kai Douglas, in my opinion. So I will go with Ja'Kai personally. Anything that undermines trust is such a big investment of your time. Transfer portal wasn't around in the old days. No 850 says, I think they are 85% right when it comes to getting talent at a portal. That's an interesting percentage, but you're probably in that area. You're probably around that area. Again, they've had some misses, but for the overall majority, they've hit on for sure. Briley thinks LT's most underrated, and that's fair. LT does a lot of good things for you. You don't think Ja'Kai's underrated. You say he is what he is. What is he? And see, like the GOAT says, Ja'Kai's not going to cut it. Not with this wide receivers now. How do we know that? That's the definition of underrated. You're underrating the guy. You don't think he fits in this room. That's fine. Again, I want you to go watch the games and watch anytime Ja'Kai had his number called, right? And watch what he did. Pull up the roster. I think you'll have a much different answer. I don't think so, but feel free to tell me the roster. Probably Ja'Kai, depends on who steps up this year. Might be Gilbert, might be Shaheem, might be Darian. Winston Wright would be better. Winston Wright's not underrated to me. Winston Wright is a guy that has expectation. If it's not for a car crash last year, Winston Wright was the guy who everybody had huge expectations for. Maybe we just don't view underrated the same. That could be the issue with what we're talking about. How do you define the term underrated? A speedster who can't block, and you know that. I don't need a wide receiver to block, bro. We're gonna come around to that whole thing of like Jarvis Brownlee was a great DB because he could tackle, but he couldn't cover his mouth when he sneezed. I don't pay my receiver. Randy Moss couldn't block. I'm not saying Ja'Kai Douglas is Randy Moss. I don't need my wide receiver to block. I view the game. You do what I pay you to do. I don't pay Ja'Kai Douglas to block. Micah Pittman was a great blocker. Good for him. He did a lot of dirty things, and that's awesome. I needed Micah Pittman to make catches. Go watch last year how many drops he had in key moments. Right? I don't need you to block. I need you to catch the damn ball. Did you see Florida's schedule? It's absolutely nasty in 2024. Norvell doesn't like wide receivers who don't block. Come on, you know that. I don't know that. But we'll see. I mean, Dugan specializes in teaching his receivers how to block, and that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Again, your skill set dictates what a team asks you to do. Have we had a receiver out there that's dominant in one area that you get him out there on the field and don't care if he blocks or not? If you're not going to be dominant in one area, then they're going to ask you to do the little dirty things, and that's fine. I mean, Johnny Wilson should block. He's 6'7", 230. Micah Pittman did a lot of great things for you. How good of a blocker was Ontario? I don't know. But that's not what he was on the field for. Go watch all the clutch catches Ontario had. You know, I mean, look, I just different philosophies here. I don't care. I don't care if my wide receivers block. I never seen Jakai ever drop a ball. Darius is a good option. Darius could be a very underrated player. I agree. Darius is actually a good one. Forgot about Darius. Darius is a good one. He is a very integral part on your O line because he is that swing. He's the guy that's going to play all 5 positions if you need him to. So Darius is a good one. I agree with that, man. Darius is a good one. Definition of underrated. If a person or one thing is underrated, especially a performer, writer, sports player, most people don't recognize how good that person or thing really is. Blocking is such a big thing in this offense. It's a big thing in any offense. Have you not watched Mike Norvell pressers? I mean, listen, man. We're just gonna agree to disagree. I'm not asking Ja'Kai Douglas I don't need Ja'Kai Douglas to block. We're just gonna agree to disagree on this one. Okay? And it's okay. That's my definition of underrated. Again, anytime your number's called, you produce, but yet for some reason we can't steadily get him in a rotation. You're underrated to me, and we're just going to have to disagree or agree to disagree on this whole Ja'Kai Douglas thing. He's not proving anything. Winston Wright, that is. Ja'Kai has had no. Actually, Ja'Kai hasn't had his shot, in my opinion. Again, we just agree to disagree. When has Ja'Kai had his shot? Can't have your shot when you're hurt. Ja'Kai Douglas was hurt last year. Didn't play till like the 6th or 7th game of the season. By then, they already had their rotation. What's good, Irv? It's not a rule that says our wide receivers can't catch and block. No, I'm just saying, like, blocking is awesome. It's again, I just equate it to my DBs, and people are like, a DB is a great tackler. Cool. I don't pay him to tackle. Deion Sanders is not known as a tackler for a reason. He didn't make all the money and become prime time because he was known for hitting. It wasn't his game. With Darrelle Revis, not saying Darrelle Revis couldn't tackle. What is Darrelle Revis known for? Not known for tackling. Not saying he couldn't. Not saying he didn't have big hit. None of that. Darrelle Revis is considered maybe the best corner of his generation. Why? Because he blanketed every damn wide receiver he had. I don't need my receivers to be grading in the 90 percentile in blocking. That's awesome. When Randy Moss didn't block a lick, no, he just went out there and gave you 3 catches for 120 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's what I need. If I want blocking, I got 6'4" wide receivers to go in there and do that. I'm not putting Ja'Kai Douglas in the game because I want him to block. You know why Micah Pittman was asked to block? Because, damn it, he wasn't fast, and he didn't have the best hands either. Go watch NC State and Micah Pittman. You can watch other games where Micah Pittman dropped ball. So if you're not a burner and you don't catch the ball consistently, well, damn it, yeah, you're gonna get out there and block because that you got to contribute in some way. Polk, I really think Dent loses his spot later in the season. That's an interesting take. It wouldn't shock me if AZ could take that spot, though. To be honest with you, wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me at all. AZ is the guy that I kind of want to see in that safety room. That's just me, though. Our Jumbo said at wide receiver so nasty. If you're coaching, if you're counting on Ja'Kai to block you, that's what I'm saying. Thank you. See, we understand in football. We understand in football now. I'm glad somebody said it. We understand in football now. If I'm asking Ja'Kai Douglas to block, I don't understand my personnel is the point. I don't need Ja'Kai Douglas to block. I got 6'4" Kentron Portier. I got 6'7" Johnny Wilson. I got 6'3" Darian Williamson. I got 6'2", 215 Keon Coleman. Probably not asking him to block either, but you get the point. I got a Deuce Span is 6'4" or whatever he is. I got a multitude of guys. Hakeem, if I need someone to block, let me put the 6'2", 215-pound freshman and I ask Hakeem to block. I'm not asking Ja'Kai Douglas. I'm not asking Winston Wright. I'm not asking Vandavius Jacobs. I'm not asking these type of receivers to get out there and block. Not what I need you to do, bro. I don't need you to do that. Ja'Kai has been awesome at the gadget and wheel routes. Got a great clutch catch on third down. With most plays, he's in the game. I forget which game it was last year, but the man had clutch catch after clutch. He had like few targets in a row last year. I don't remember what game it was. I really don't. Where Ja'Kai was just catching everything. I just think Ja'Kai needs more opportunity. I don't think he's had it. You go watch his freshman year, that COVID year. Felt like they could have used him more. They didn't. But hey, that's a lie. Show me film where Deion did not. I didn't say Deion didn't tackle. See, here we go. Y'all twist my words. Never said Deion didn't tackle. I said he's not known for it. Didn't say he didn't tackle. But most people ask you what's Deion Sanders known for. Just like, it is, I appreciate the workman attitude. How many sweeps and outside zones would you have gone for TDs if that wide receiver wasn't sulking or being soft? That's what I said about Michael Pittman. I appreciate the workman attitude, but there's a reason why he was asked to do that. Because what else was he giving you? I ain't mad at it. I'm just saying I don't ask Ja'Kai to do those things. Kevin Knowles will lose his reps to Edwin. Kevin Knowles, I think, is hurt this year too. How many sweeps and outside zones? Oh, I read that one. I can see Knowles transferring. Yeah, I don't like to say that. But with Knowles, with Knowles being hurt potentially at the beginning of this year, there's a chance. I mean, when you're hurt, you can always lose your spot and you might not get it back. You're not always guaranteed to get it back. So, hell, if they want to block, I know we're stuck on this receiver thing. Throw Joshua Burrell's ass out there and let him block because he don't do nothing else, and he's been on this team for 3 years. Throw his ass out there, and let him block. Well, I think Douglas will ball out this year with so much attention on Coleman and Wilson. I think whoever's in the slot has the opportunity to be really good, right? And I would like to see Douglas get opportunity, but I can't say that he would start over Winston Wright, obviously, right? Yeah, won't start over Winston Wright, obviously, right? And then the freshman Jacobs is out there. We'll see how he pushes. So they got some guys, but they have a ton of options at receiver. Knowles already lost his starting spot to Greedy. Again, and he's hurt. So again, I'm not disagreeing with you, like Antoine. That could be a definite case for Knowles to but they could also move him to safety or something, which Knowles is interesting, right? On the contrary, you can say Micah gave you little to nothing offensively, and yet he still played over. Because he was hurt. Ja'Kai Douglas missed the first 6-7 games of the season. Yes, of course he played. Ja'Kai was hurt. So yes, by the time Ja'Kai comes in, they already have their rotation. They already have their chemistry. They already know their set plays that they want to go to. You start putting Ja'Kai in that, now you've messed up the entire flow of your offense when you're counting on Micah Pittman to do certain things that you have now made a staple in your offense. Yes, he did play over Ja'Kai because Ja'Kai was hurt the first half of the season. Now you're asking the guy to come off his injury in the second half of the season and completely mess up what we've already established the first 6 games of your season. I mean, I guess you can ask that. No normal coach would make that decision to upset the apple cart in that manner. They're just going to continue to go what's worked. So, yes. Jakai suffers from the same thing as Pokey. They undersized slot type, whose primary skill ain't underneath position. I see Jacob slot fade at 5'10 is rough. What about the 6 other games? I answered that one already. The half of the season on the bench. Michael's playing hurt. Michael's playing hurt. Hold on. Michael was playing hurt. Michael was playing hurt. Jakai wasn't playing at all. Like, Mason, I don't know what you're trying to argue here, bro. I really don't know what you're trying to argue. You're arguing against yourself. Michael was playing, keyword, playing hurt. Jakai wasn't playing. What is your argument? That because the guy came midway through the season and they didn't just thrust him out there, that means something? That's fair. That's a fair criticism. Jakai has that speed. Wright and Jacobs have that more diverse skill set. I'll tell you right now, if Wright had been healthy, you probably wouldn't have seen much of Micah. A lot of the stuff that they let Micah do, they had to let Micah do by necessity. Those sweet plays, the Micah and all that shit, that probably would have been called for another someone. If think about it, Micah Pittman played, your 2 other slot options were hurt. Winston was sat out the entire year, and Jakai sat out half of the year. They played a banged up Mike. They played Micah Pittman. I don't need to take a drink. We're arguing about a guy that actually played, and we're arguing about a guy that didn't play. One guy missed half the season. One guy played every game. What is the argument? And Micah, they even addressed that they didn't know the extent of that injury until after the season. They would have they would have had the surgery last year probably if they would have known it was a torn labrum. They didn't find out it was a torn labrum until after the season. And then the day Micah still played. Jakai didn't play. But hit the like button. We're 2 hours in. We're just talking, going over it. It looks like 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 11 Central. So I don't think Mike telling me how he feels about Jakai at all. But again, I'm not arguing Jakai no more, bro. I'm not doing it. I said we were going to agree to disagree. Y'all just want to disagree on Jakai. You don't think highly of Jakai? That's fine. You asked me who my most underrated player was. I said Jakai Douglas. It didn't fit what you wanted, so you want to argue it. Cool. Darius Washington was another good one, though. But I've been high on Jakai. I like Jakai. To me, he doesn't get the opportunity. That's my underrated player. It is what it is. We're not doing this no more. I'm not doing it. It is what it is. It's over with. Dan Squat says, what's Hakeem Dent going to be this year? I don't know. I think Hakeem has been – I think that's one of those players that just is what he is at this point. I don't think you're going to I don't know. I don't know if you're going to see some like elite step from Hakeem Dent. I think it's a solid safety who at this point what I would like to see from Hakeem Dent is more of a ball hawk. With Shaheem Brown being more of a, an in the box type guy. I mean, Shaheem Brown is bigger than some of your linebackers, right? He's a guy that can come up a hit, but he's also athletic enough to do some other things. I think Hakeem Dent would pair very well if he could be a ball hawk. I think that's what you want to see him be. I don't know. I just don't know how much more room there is. Hakeem Dent's been in college. Hell, I feel like Hakeem Dent been here since like 2019, 23, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, Hakeem Dent has been here for like 5 years already. I don't know how much better Hakeem really is going to get. That's one of the reasons why I want to see AZ. I want to see somebody maybe be able to push Hakeem Dent. Or just flat out take the spot. And it's not a knock on Hakeem Dent. I'm not saying he's a bad player. My point is I just don't know if there's a step we expect Akeem to take. I just think he is what he is. So there's that. He broke his foot against Oklahoma. Yeah, I think he played in the spring though. Did Akeem play in the spring? I feel like he played in the spring. I don't remember, but I think Dent played in the spring. I don't remember though, but I do think he played in the spring. Hakeem just needs to be ready for his opportunity. You're talking about Hakeem Williams? I think he's talking about Hakeem Dent. But yeah, I think Hakeem would be fine. I think Shaheem is your face and the fan guy, and Dent is your run to the ball in the air. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Hakeem's your in the box, come down, downhill, tackle, clean up stuff underneath. He can play in space when needed to, but he can really excel in that LaMarcus Joyner, Jamie Robinson type role where he's just, you can blitz him off the edge. He just can cause havoc underneath. Whereas Dent, you want to see that guy be look, free safety, strong safety. Like that's what those positions are, right? You want to see Dent just be able to play center field. I would like to see that. I don't know how much more growth there is. I don't know how much growth there is from Dent at this point. I don't know if he's ever going to live up to that hype he was coming out of high school. Norvell better get it together with this staff to save his job down the road. So upgrade some of these coaches and not recruiting at a high level. I think any staff upgrades. And sometimes upgrades happen with not just fires. Maybe you push a guy to get a coaching job somewhere. Think about it. I mean, maybe if Tatum Bethune, I think Kalen DeLoach can play his way into the draft. I expect a pretty good year from DeLoach, right? I don't know how good. He can maybe play his way into the draft in some shape or form. Maybe if Shannon gets Bethune and Kalen drafted, maybe a team takes him off your hands. And that's how you continue to upgrade your staff. Maybe JP getting Jarrett Verse and Jermaine Johnson first round grades. What if Pat, people forget Pat is draft eligible. What if Pat has a double-digit sack year this year and just said, you know what? My stock's not going to get no higher than it is right now. What if JP has 2 DNs drafted in the first 2 rounds this year? Maybe someone takes JP off your hand. That's kind of the best hope you have. I don't know if there's any justification to flat out fire, anybody. So that's just kind of the best case scenario. My problem is, I guess what I'm saying is, what you want to avoid is the worst case scenario, and that's that you're so terrible that you got to make those fires. Go Noles, absolutely. Go Noles.
Yeah, more money. Yeah, more money. Yeah.
Who's next up in those roles? In safety, I think definitely Kirkland, though I think I've heard they like him at DB because he's long and fast, or corner. I think the safety is going to get interesting because the type of guys they're recruiting, I think they're recruiting a lot of guys who can play either. Like AZ can play either, right? I think Kirkland can play either. I think Quindarius Jones can play either. Rawls can play either. So you have to ask yourself, how long do you continue to cross-train? And then when do you make guys settle in on positions? So it's going to be interesting. Like, I think Edwin's a corner, right? Conrad's a safety. If I had Conrad, probably would be one of the next guys up. Just because he's a true safety, in my opinion. But some of these other guys is just going to depend on where they end up fitting in on this, on the what their skill set really dictates. But I think you got some guys who can play either or. So, but yeah, man. This was fun, as always. We did 2 hours, almost 2 hours and 30 minutes. Talked a little Elite 11. Luke, unfortunately, man, Luke did not have a great showing tonight. That is, it wasn't great. Luke Cromerhawk did not have the greatest of showings. Let's see. I'm trying to. Yeah, I think Luke finished with the lowest. Yeah, I think Luke's got to be. I think Luke finished with the lowest. Lowest grade. Lowest grade, but I'm just going over it. So tough night for Luke Cromerhawk, but hey, you're gonna have those up and down nights. It's okay. Luke will be all right. Luke will be all right. I think this is Fuller's last year. He'll be a head coach at a small school next year, along with Atkins. Interesting. They're recruiting tall. They're recruiting rangy DBs. Period. They haven't recruited anybody. I don't think under 6 foot. You think Conrad's gonna? If Conrad would have early enrolled, I'd agree with you. I just don't know when you don't early enroll how much we can expect. Right? So interesting. Yeah, he got a grade of 32. He had a tough night. Yeah. I don't know. I guess they just only did one drill tonight. So that's just what they did. Again, tough night for him, but overall, man, I'm not worried about Luke. Right? The consensus on Cromerhawk is he's got all the physical tools. And like you're talking about a kid who hasn't started and they think that highly of him. So how much you're gonna once he gets proper coaching, you get that accuracy under control, right? It'll be all right. Luke would be all right. I ain't worried about Luke at all. He's not a polished product, which is awesome in my opinion because that means you got a guy who's showing potential. Some people have said he's the best quarterback prospect FSU's had since Jameis. I don't know. Malik Henry was up there, though he had obvious off the field problems. For what it's worth, people may not like Frenchie, but DeAndre Francois had a live arm. DeAndre had a live arm. He was a bit undersized. Luke is not undersized. They even say he's a better athlete. They say he's got some fast twitch when he runs. They're calling him the best QB prospect Florida State's had since Jameis. Not saying I disagree with it. We're gonna wait and see, man. That's a lot of expectation and to put on a kid. It's a lot of expectation to put on him. But he's got the measurables. He's got the arm. You know, let's see what he turns into, man. Let's see what he turns into. I love the fact that he's QB1. No, Francois, you know, he made mistakes. Ultimately, he was dismissed off of he was still dismissed off of a lie. But no, he made mistakes. But I'm just more so talking about the talent portion of it. DeAndre was up there in terms of his arm talent. He was not the same measurables. So actually, the more I think about it, yeah, Luke's probably the best quarterback you signed since Jameis. Probably not even close, man. other than Francois. And I know Malik Henry, but we never even got to see Malik Henry play it down here. Yeah. It's so hard to be field ready just after preseason camp. Kirkland had positive feedback, looks to have some meat on his bones. But if he plays in September, it scares me. If any of these freshmen are playing in September, it scares me. That's been my whole point the whole time about that safety room. This is why I think AZ needs to make a move. Somebody needs to make the move. And you moved Omarion Cooper there, and he transferred, which I don't even blame Omarion Cooper because he wasn't a safety to me. So I'm assuming Deion's going to use him at corner. No, I don't want to see any of these freshmen, man. That's not a knock on them. It just September's the month. That's LSU Clemson. The first 4 games of the year is where FSU's year is made or I don't want to say broken, but all the national championship playoff hype, that either that dies or that is given true life in the month of September. You come out of September 2-2, your championship and the playoff hope, that's dead. Now you can still play for the ACC, but anything else after that is a pipe dream. So I'm with you. I don't want to see any freshmen playing at that time because I don't know if we have a freshman that I would go, that guy's going to see the field day one. Like our 5-star, I don't think is going to see the field day one. So let alone Kirkland or Hussey is going to see the field day one. I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Cooper could have been your dent mold. The thing is, Cooper wasn't the same after his injury. I don't know. You know how they say about losing a step that you don't have? I think that's what happened to him. I think Omarion Cooper healthy had he was fast enough. Post-injury, he lost a step that he couldn't afford to lose. I don't even think as athletic as Akeem Dent is the problem. And once he lost that step after the injury, I don't know, man. Safety just didn't. I didn't see it at safety. Be nice if we make history and win. Of course. Of course it would be. Absolutely it'd be nice if we could make history and win a natty. That's what it's all about, right? But yeah, man, y'all that stuck with me for the entire show, I appreciate y'all as always. In a lot of ways, Dan Squatch, that's kind of where I've always been at it. Like anything other than ACC championship would be nice. But can we? There's no excuse to not make the ACC championship game this year. Zero excuse. Before, you couldn't afford to lose to Clemson because you lost that one game. You were behind the 8 ball. You were not, no matter what happened, you weren't going to make it, right? Now, with just the best 2 teams getting in, there's no excuse. So I up it from just not just an appearance, but I want to win it. I want to win it. I at least want to beat Clemson one of the damn 2 times. If you can beat them in the regular season, but maybe lose to them in the ACC championship, I mean, I can be okay with that. It's hard to beat a team twice, or vice versa. Lose to them in the regular season and beat them in the ACC championship. I'm with that too. What I don't want is to not even make it, or you know what I'm saying. Of course, absolutely, you want to beat them in both games, but like I said, it's hard to beat a team twice. So you got to be a little bit realistic, right? Georgia's first natty, they lost to Bama initially and then came back and beat Bama. So, like I said, it's hard to beat a team twice. If you remember when Bama had Trent Richardson, they lost to LSU in the season, came back, beat LSU in the natty. It's hard to beat a team twice. So to say we're just going to flat out beat Clemson twice, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's hard. The likelihood is that if we're talking about two even teams, the bigger likelihood is that we're splitting those two with Clemson. We win one, they win one. That's usually how it goes. Not impossible to win twice, but I just kind of like to keep the realistic expectation to it. Hey, I appreciate you, Terrell. Surprise Knowles comes back at 2:08 and plays like a minute. That would be great, but I don't know if it happens. But yeah, man, we're going to hit it 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's all we got tonight. Might do something else one of these other nights, do something Saturday night, you know. Try to do these, at least try to get one out here once a week. I feel like the market's flooded with FSU content right now, which isn't a bad thing. It's great for the fans. You get a lot of people, a lot of opinions, and a lot of takes you get to go listen to. So it's definitely not a bad thing. It just kind of means less I feel like I need to do, because I don't like to rehash other talking points. I like to come with my own fresh material. And that's why I don't do more live streams. I just feel like I'll be rehashing stuff other people talk about, right? So I just like to come with my own stuff, which is why I want to talk some. I haven't heard anybody else talk about Elite 11, so I want to talk about some Elite 11 stuff and just, you know, let y'all ask questions and do what we do over here. But that's all I got tonight, y'all. Hit that like button on the way out. If you didn't hit it on the way in. And I will see y'all again maybe later this week. Definitely next week sometime. And as always, man, it's your boy over here on 863 Seminole TV. And y'all stay classy, man. And we are out here. Go Noles. And I might see you Saturday. Who knows? And again, happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers out there that, man,